They said the Griot vanished beneath the blood moon, his drum echoing across the hills of Bono Manso. But that night, what truly disappeared wasn't a man, it was prophecy. When his final song reached the living, goats cried, rivers grew uneasy, and a child yet unborn trembled in her mother's womb. That child, they whispered, was the answer. Before his voice fell silent, the Griot warned, when truth slips too long, lies become kings. Then he smiled, and his shadow stretched longer than the sun set, swallowed by wind. Years later, that same wind returned, carrying voices from nowhere, calling names that the elders had buried. No one could explain why the drums started playing by themselves again. In the heart of Bono Manso, people said the Griot's spirit roamed, searching for something he had lost before death, something even he had no right to reclaim. Tonight, the fires are lit once more, and I, your storyteller, summon his memory. Listen closely. What you are about to hear was forbidden to be told under the moon. But silence rots truth. So now, as the crickets hum, I will unveil what the ancestors hid, the forgotten prophecy of the wandering Griot. Before the Griot vanished, Bono Manso was a village that sang to everything, rivers, trees, even stones. But when the drums went silent, so did the people's joy. Crops failed, laughter faded. The evening moonlight, once golden and proud, dimmed like tired eyes. The people called it misfortune, but the elders knew spirits were starving. Without the Griot songs, no one could speak to the unseen. The sacred rhythm that connected worlds was broken, and the silence grew heavier than thunder clouds before rain. In those days, a widow named Abena lived near the forest edge. She spoke to shadows, believing the dead still listen when hearts were sincere enough. Her husband had been the Griot's apprentice, killed by fever before learning the secret song. Abena kept his broken drum as an heirloom, though she dared not strike it. Every night she dreamed of the Griot's last melody, a rhythm she had never heard but felt pulsing in her chest, like a heartbeat begging to remember itself. One dawn, she awoke to find the drum trembling on its own. That morning, Bono Manso realized silence had not been mercy, it was a warning ignored. On the third market day after the trembling drum, a stranger appeared beneath the old baobab. His skin carried the dust of many lands, and his eyes were restless, searching. He called himself Kojo, a wandering singer seeking shelter. Yet, when he spoke, even the palm wine tapper paused mid-swing, sensing a rhythm as ancient as the river's fast ripple. Abena was the first to greet him. Her voice quivered, for she swore she had seen that face before, in her dreams, standing beside the vanished Griot's shadow. The elders questioned him, but Kojo answered in riddles. He said, I follow the drum that remembers me, and I seek the woman whose dreams call my name. His words unsettled the council, for in Bono Manso, dreams were not mere sleep, they were messages carried on ancestral wind. The chief ordered a feast to test the stranger's truth. As Kojo sang that night, fireflies gathered like spirits, and the trees swayed though no wind blew. Children whispered, he sings like the dead man returned. But when his final note faded, the drum in Abena's heart answered him from afar. 3 beats, hollow and clear, echoing like a promise between worlds. The night after the feast, no one slept. The villagers whispered Kojo's name as the drum beats drifted again, soft but certain, like footsteps crossing the boundary between the living and the gone. Abena followed the sound to her hut. The drum pulsed by itself, glowing faintly, as if recalling joy. Kojo entered quietly and whispered, "The ancestors are testing us." She trembled. What did they want? Kojo touched the drum's cracked skin. He murmured, "They want truth sung again, but truth comes with sacrifice. Are you ready to remember pain?" When his fingers struck the drum, shadows filled the room, forming faces of forgotten elders. Their eyes glowed blue like deep water spirits, and their mouths moved without sound. Abena cried out, clutching the drum, but Kojo kept playing. Each beat carried a name, each rhythm an old betrayal. The air thickened, songs long buried forced themselves free. Then suddenly, everything went still. The fire dimmed, and the shadows bowed before vanishing. Only one voice lingered in the wind. "The Griot lives through what was unfinished." Abena gasped. Kojo's eyes shimmered with tears. He whispered, "The prophecy is awakening, but before the truth sings, the lie must bleed." Outside, thunder cracked like applause from the ancestors. By morning, Bono Manso trembled beneath heavy clouds. The villagers gathered, demanding answers. "You've angered the spirits," the chief shouted. But Kojo replied calmly, "No, we've reminded them they were forgotten." Abena stood beside him, clutching the drum. "The dead spoke through this," she said. "They remember promises not kept." Her voice carried pain as old as the earth itself. That night, Kojo prepared a ritual by the river. He placed 7 stones around the drum and lit palm oil lamps that flickered with red flame like angry eyes of the gods. The crowd watched in fear as Kojo chanted, "What once was bound by silence, let rhythm reveal." The river began boiling, and fish leapt, gasping, as if fleeing unseen jaws. Abena struck the drum once, boom, and the sky split open. Lightning fell like whips of gold, circling the village. The air burned, and people screamed, shielding their eyes. When the light faded, every drum in Bono Manso bled sap, thick and dark as blood. The Griot spirit had marked its return, but no one knew if it was a blessing or a curse. Kojo fell to his knees, whispering, "The Griot's voice has crossed back, but the one who silenced him still walks among us." Fear crawled through the village like ants on fire. That next sunrise came cold and colorless. Kojo was summoned to the palace. The chief's face was pale, and his golden stool felt smaller beneath the weight of what he hid. "You've stirred things best left buried, you know. Do you know whose drum that was?" Kojo answered softly, "The Griot's, the one your father silenced for speaking truth." The court gasped. The chief's fingers trembled on his staff. "Lies," he barked, but his voice cracked. Kojo looked at him steadily. "The ancestors have no need to lie, my lord." Abena entered, carrying the drum. She placed it before the chief. "It called his name," she said. "It knows who broke the covenant. The truth bleeds for justice." The chief's eyes darkened. He leaned forward. "If the Griot spirit seeks revenge, then the whole village will burn. Destroy the drum, or all will perish." His voice shook. But Kojo smiled faintly. "You cannot destroy memory," he said. "Even ashes remember the fire that birthed them." The room fell silent, except for one faint drumbeat echoing beneath their feet. That sound grew louder, deeper, until the palace walls trembled.
The chief whispered, terrified, "He's here." And outside, thunder rolled as the griot song rose again, fierce and unstoppable. That night, Kojo and Abina followed the drum's call to the river bank. The moon hung low, pale and trembling. The air smelled of iron, smoke, and unspoken forgiveness. The river hissed softly, whispering names neither of them knew. Kojo knelt, touched the water, and flinched. These are the voices of the silenced. The griot buried them here. Abina felt the current tug at her fingers. The water turned crimson, reflecting faces, men, women, children, all fading in and out like candlelight fighting darkness. "What do they want?" she whispered. "Remembrance and truth," Kojo said. He dipped the drum into the river, and it began to hum, low, deep, sorrowful. Each soul bound by silence must be named before dawn. Together they recited every name that rose from the water. The river grew calmer, glowing faintly gold. But as dawn approached, a single name refused to reveal itself. The current raged again, slamming against the banks. "Who remains?" Abina cried. Kojo's voice faltered. "The one who betrayed the griot, the one who sealed his fate." The river suddenly stilled. From its depths, a voice rose, old, cracked, and bitter. "The betrayer still breathes." Abina froze. "Then the prophecy is not yet fulfilled," Kojo whispered gravely.
The villagers woke to find strange markings on their doors, symbols carved in ash that looked like tears. The elders gathered, terrified. "The dead are walking," they said, "and the griot leads them." Kojo and Abena returned to the chief's palace. The old man looked haunted and sleepless. "Tell me," he rasped, "what did the river say?" Kojo answered, "That the betrayer still lives." Silence filled the hall. The chief's guards shifted nervously. Then Abena stepped forward. "Who silenced the griot?" she asked. "Was it you or your father?" Her voice carried weight from the ancestors. The chief looked away. "My father feared the prophecy," he said quietly. "The griot foretold that truth would destroy his bloodline, so he ordered his death before the message spread." Kojo's eyes darkened. "And what truth did he hide?" The chief whispered, "That the griot's heir would rise from the same bloodline he tried to erase." The room grew cold. Abena's breath caught. Kojo's reflection shimmered faintly on the drum, his face overlapping the griot's shadow. "You," the chief whispered, trembling. "You are his son." The words hit like thunder. The drum responded with 3 powerful beats, shaking the palace rafters. Kojo's voice broke. "Then the prophecy lives through me, and what was silenced must now speak again." Kojo left the palace in stormlight, burdened by blood and faith. The villagers followed at a distance, whispering, "He carries the griot spirit." Some bowed, others feared what he would awaken. Abena found him beneath the baobab where they first met. Rain washed over his face as he struck the drum once, twice, thrice, each echo carrying pain too heavy for words. "My father's death was not from fever. He was hunted and silenced. I carry his rhythm, but not his peace." Abena touched his arm. "Then sing him peace." Kojo's eyes met hers. "To sing truth is to invite death," he said. "The prophecy demands a voice, but the voice must pay the price." Lightning crowned the horizon. He raised the drum again, beating until the clouds themselves wept. The wind howled names, old and new, until even the ancestors seemed restless in their graves. The prophecy stirred. "When silence kills truth, silence must die," Abena cried. Her words ignited the air. The drum's glow turned white-hot, cracking and trembling between worlds. Kojo's last beat that night tore the sky open, and from the thunder came a voice neither man nor God could claim. The time for reckoning has begun. When morning broke, Bono Manso was unrecognizable. Smoke curled from the sacred grove, and every drum in the village cracked open, leaking fire instead of sound. The ancestors were awake. Kojo stood among the flames, his body trembling with a rhythm older than blood. "They demand truth," he cried, "and truth has come home." His voice echoed like thunder, chasing thunder. Abena tried to reach him, but the heat burned her skin. "Kojo," she screamed, "you will die." He smiled faintly. "No, Abena, only the lie dies today." His eyes glowed. He struck the final rhythm his father never finished. 7 beats that turned fire into gold, smoke into light. Every shadow froze, listening. Even the wind held its breath. The griot's ghost appeared, bathed in crimson fire. "My son," it said, "you have carried the burden of silence well, but truth is not spoken, it is lived through sacrifice." Kojo bowed. "Then take my voice if it restores balance." The ghost's hand touched his heart, and the fire calmed. The sky bled color again, red, gold, and green, like Ghana reborn. When it ended, Kojo's drum lay still, its cracks sealed with light. The griot's spirit vanished, leaving only wind and a whisper. Every truth reborn must first burn away its fear. Days passed before the smoke cleared. Bono Manso mourned Kojo, though no grave was found. His drum now hung in the chief's hall, silent yet warm, as if breathing an unseen rhythm. Abena walked the paths alone, carrying memory like an heirloom. Each night she sat beneath the baobab tree, listening to the silence, which no longer frightened her. It spoke softly now. The chief gathered the people. His voice shook. "We killed our own truth," he confessed. "The griot's song was never a curse, it was a mirror, and we shattered it with pride." Elders nodded solemnly. For the first time, the drums of Bono Manso played again, not for ceremony, but for repentance. The rhythm was gentle, carrying both grief and rebirth. Abena heard Kojo's spirit within the beat, guiding and forgiving. The griot's son did not die. He became the drum itself. Her tears glistened like rain kissed by dawn. That night, every home lit a candle. Shadows danced softly, and in their flicker, people saw faces of ancestors smiling. Peace, long denied, finally exhaled through the air. From then on, Bono Manso sang again, but this time they sang not to be heard, but to remember. And memory, once feared, became their greatest blessing. Years later, a child was born under the same blood moon where it all began. Her cry echoed like a drumbeat, ancient and pure. Elders called her Ama Kojoa, the Rememberer. They said her heartbeat matched the rhythm of the old griot song. Even the trees leaned closer when she laughed, and the river flowed gentler as if greeting a long-lost friend. Abena grew old watching her. "The prophecy lives," she whispered. "It was never about death, it was about inheritance. The truth must travel through generations until all forget fear." One night, Ama Kojoa wandered to the baobab tree. The drum waited there, shining softly in the moonlight. When she touched it, it hummed, and the air filled with warmth from the ancestors. A voice whispered within her, neither young nor old. "When the world forgets its truth, remember the griot's song. Truth may die, but it never stays buried." She smiled through her tears. The next morning, villagers awoke to her singing. The melody felt older than the sun, but as fresh as dawn. The drums joined her, and every heart in Bono Manso beat together again. And so,
the forgotten prophecy found its end, not in silence, but in song. For truth, once sung, never truly dies. And so, my friends, the griot's voice still roams, not in the wind, not in the fire, but in us. When truth trembles, we must sing it. When fear silences us, we must remember that even silence bleeds rhythm. If this story touched your heart, let your voice join the rhythm. Share this tale, write your thoughts in the comments, and keep the griot's fire alive, because stories die only when listeners forget.